Good morning, I'm Gail Guayardo.
I'm Gene Ramirez. Governor Rick Scott is joining us now live from Tallahassee. Let's listen in.
Number one priority. Protecting life is the number one priority right now. If Matthew directly impacts Florida, there will be massive destruction that we haven't seen in years. Again, this is a deadly storm approaching our state. This week, I issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency for every Florida county due to the severity and magnitude of this storm. Every county has been included in the order to ensure we have the resources for evacuations, sheltering, and other logistical needs. We are preparing for the worst, we are hoping for the best, and we're not taking any chances. I was just briefed by Brian Kuhn and his team at DM on the current weather. At 11:15, I'll be speaking with the National Hurricane Center and all 67 Florida counties. I've been in contact with sheriffs, mayors, utility companies, and emergency management officials all across our state. Here's what we know now. Hurricane Matthew made landfall in Cuba last night and is headed directly towards the Bahamas. Matthew has maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour and is currently a Category 3 Matthew. Is currently Category 3. Is a very slow-moving storm. We should not focus on the projected path. We should think about whether, if it does hit landfall, what we will do. The eye of the storm continues to move closer to our state. There's now some forecasts that put a direct hit on our state. Regardless if there's a direct hit or not, the impacts will be devastating. I cannot emphasize it enough that everyone in our state must prepare now for a direct hit. Be prepared for a direct hit. Don't trust that the storm path is correct. Just remember, with the storm going up our coast, a small deviation from this track could mean a catastrophic change along Florida's east coast. We have to prepare for a direct hit. We'll likely start to see impacts on our state within the next 24 hours and last through the weekend. This is a very slow-moving storm. That means people have less than 24 hours left to prepare, evacuate, and shelter. Having a plan in place could mean the difference between life and death when it comes to a storm of this magnitude. Right now, we expect to see impacts all along Florida's east coast, ranging from the Upper Keys to Nassau County. We're still focused on the I-95 corridor of the state. Impacts of Hurricane Matthew could include heavy rain. Forecasts project 4 to 7 inches from the Upper Keys northward to the coastal east central Florida. It could be up to 10 inches in some of these areas. And let's think about prior storms. We've seen bands that jumped more than that. Storm surge. Heights are expected to be above ground. Forecasts project 3 to 5 feet from North Palm Beach to the Flagler-Volusia County line. Rip currents, beach erosion, tornadoes, and hurricane-force winds. Even if the storm remains offshore, tropical storm-force winds will extend into our state. As of now, wind strength is our biggest concern, regardless if the storm directly hits our state. The probability of high wind speeds has continued to increase as the forecast develops. The probability of hurricane-strength winds continues to increase. But again, this could quickly change and become much worse. These are all projections, and we must prepare to be hit by a devastating hurricane. Remember, these are simply projections. Hurricane warnings are in effect from north of Golden Beach in Miami-Dade County to Sebastian Inlet in Brevard County and Lake Okeechobee. There's currently a hurricane watch in effect for Sebastian Inlet to Fernandina Beach in Nassau County. There's a tropical storm warning in effect for Caloosahatchee, Chokoloskee, and Collier County to Golden Beach, Florida Keys from 7 Mile Bridge eastward, and Florida Bay. This is a dangerous storm and is never too early to evacuate. It is never too early to evacuate. If you live in a low-lying area, on a barrier island, or an area prone to flooding, you need to consider making your plans now to leave. Don't wait for the order to do it. If you know that you're prone to flooding, you're in a barrier island, a low-lying area, go ahead and leave. Current evacuations include Brevard County. Mandatory evacuations for Bear Islands is at 3 p.m. today. St. Lucie County, voluntary evacuations have already started. I've spoken to all 67 Florida counties, and I stress to them the importance of getting their evacuation plans ready now. The state stands ready with resources to help counties with safe sheltering and evacuation if any local communities need it. I expect to hear more this morning from coastal counties on their evacuation plans. Again, I fully expect to hear more this morning from our coastal counties on their evacuation plans. Our number one priority is protecting life. The storm has already killed multiple people, and we should expect the same impact in Florida if people do not take this seriously. If an evacuation order is issued for your area, don't wait, leave immediately. Once the storm comes, we cannot put first responders' lives at risk. You must leave before it's too late. During the storm, we cannot put first responders' life at risk. You've got to prepare yourself. We cannot rebuild a home. We cannot rebuild a business. We can rebuild a home. We can rebuild a business, but we cannot rebuild your life. Follow the directions of your local officials. Listen to them. This is serious, and your safety depends on you being prepared and staying alert to all warnings and orders. Many coastal counties are preparing to open shelters today. These are shelters for special needs, for pets, and for general population. There are shelters for everyone. There's absolutely no excuse not to evacuate. There was a lady down in Panacea in Hurricane Hermine. She had 4 pets. She did not evacuate in a mandatory evacuation. Once it got up to a 1.5 feet, she decided to go out and start to evacuate. The water was coming very rapidly. If there had not been a high water vehicle to take her to safety, she would have perished. There are special needs shelters and there are pet shelters. You can take your pets. If you're on Florida's East Coast, you should know today where you will go if you have to evacuate. Know your evacuation plans now. Don't wait until an evacuation order. If you're able to leave early and go now, do it. If you wait, there's going to be a lot of traffic. Go now. We'll do everything we can to alleviate the traffic, but there's going to be traffic in a mandatory evacuation. There always is. No one should take any risk. I love my family. I want my family to take any risk. I don't want any family to take a risk. I urge you to visit floridadisaster.org. Here you can find your closest shelter as well as information on road closures. It's very important you know where you can go for a shelter before you need it. You don't know when you're going to lose power. Now is the time to know your evacuation plan. You don't know when you're going to lose power. Please check the website with your local officials or your local news. This can save your life. Just remember, when you lose power, you're not going to be able to find out this information. School closures. Brevard County, closed Thursday and Friday. Broward County, closed Thursday and Friday. Martin County, school will be dismissed early today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Indian River, there will be early dismissal today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Palm Beach County, closed Thursday and Friday. St. Lucie County, there will be early dismissal today. Schools closed Thursday and Friday. Florida School for Deaf and Blind, closed today, Thursday and Friday. Each county school board is responsible for school closings. Each county school board will be making these decisions. I know that we'll continue to make these decisions today. Yesterday, I activated 200 National Guard members across the state, and this morning I activated another 300. We are already staging them around the state to get prepared. In addition, we have over 6,000 more National Guard members ready to be activated. The National Guard will be focused on staging to perform search and rescue. We'll be ready to assist our counties as they need it. With a storm of this magnitude, we are very concerned about prolonged power outages. Let's remember what happened with Hermine and how long in the Leon County we were without power. That could happen anywhere around the state. We know that when there's no power, lives are clearly more at risk. I've stayed in constant contact with utilities across the state and was glad to hear yesterday that many have reported that they have already pre-positioned resources to ensure they can respond quickly. We had a conference call yesterday with the utilities. I asked them what their pre-positioning plan was and if they have any unmet needs and where they're going to get needs after the fact. Once the storm hits, our utilities will also start reporting outage and restoral information to the state. Our Department of Transportation is currently doing the following. They've halted all of their road work projects on interstates and evacuation routes. They've been removing materials that block roads to facilitate possible evacuations. They're very focused on making sure roads are clear. They're ensuring that there is fuel and road rangers on Florida's turnpikes and preparing possible evacuation routes. For information on road and bridge closures, please check fl511.com. Highway Safety has made contact with local troops in preparation for supporting evacuations in the major corridors, south to north, east to west. Their top priority is help people move to safety. They have an entire plan ready to be activated. FDLE and Fish and Wildlife are also preparing to deploy troops to help with safe evacuations and response and recovery. Florida Fish and Wildlife has teams and equipment in place to help with search and rescue efforts. They've got high water vehicles. They were very helpful after Hermine. The state has been in contact with fuel industry partners, and at this time, there are no reported supply, distribution, or retail fuel shortages. We have 3 veteran nursing homes on the East Coast. All have generators and are preparing staff and supplies to care for their residents. With regard to fuel, we're already hearing in a couple of places where there's some fuel shortages, but it's at the station level. We have plenty of fuel in that area, and we'll be sending more fuel there. DEP has issued a partial closure for Sebastian Inlet State Park in Brevard County. There are no other park closures at this time. All ports and airports remain open at this time. Visit Florida. They're working with local tourism officials to ensure visitors are kept safe and informed and provide options in case of evacuations. Now's the time to check on your neighbors. If you have a neighbor that you know that's elderly, that has special needs, that's disabled, has any reason why they might not be able to react quickly and can't take care of themselves, go next door, go around your neighborhood, take care of everybody. We saw people do this constantly during Hermine, and they did a great job taking care of people. We all have to work together to make sure we don't lose one life. Just remember, this is a potentially catastrophic storm. Each individual, 3 days of water, 3 days of food, medication, battery-powered radio, battery backups, fully charged cell phones. Once you lose power, you will not be able to recharge your cell phone. Your cell phone might be your only contact with somebody else or your only way of getting information. Again, if Matthew directly impacts Florida, the destruction could be catastrophic, and you need to be prepared. We are preparing for the worst, but are hoping for the best, and we're not going to take any chances. I hope no one in the state takes any chances. Florida knows how to prepare, and everyone must take this seriously. Do not take any chances, and do not wait. Be ready now. Know your evacuation zone. If you anticipate you're going to have to evacuate, don't wait until the traffic's up. Again, if you think you're going to have to evacuate, do it now. Do not wait. When there's a mandatory evacuation, there's going to be traffic. You're going to be stuck in traffic. It'll be harder to evacuate. It'll be harder to get to where you know you need to go. We are focused on protecting life. We will continue to provide updates on this life-threatening storm as it develops and approaches our state. Our next briefing will be for the National Hurricane Center at 11:15, and I will be heading to St. Lucie County now to meet with emergency management officials there. I'm going to continue to be talking to mayors, emergency management officials, sheriffs, make sure everybody's prepared and taking this seriously. We'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Governor, you touched on it a little bit, and you mentioned Hurricane Hermine a lot. And Director Kuhn, you could chime in after this too. Is there anything you learned from going through that storm that you think could help better prepare people for this?
Well, the one thing I saw was that the utilities, the co-ops work with the co-ops, the municipals work with the municipals, and the big publicly traded work with each other. My goal is, we had a call yesterday, I want them all to work together. Now, if they get all the resources they need, that's great. I just want to make sure if they need resources, that one, they're pre-positioned resources, and two, if they need resources, don't just rely on the co-ops for the co-ops, the municipals for the municipals, and the big four for the big four utilities. I want them all to work together because we need power back quickly. If you just think about the issues we dealt with Irmeen, think about how many people, their jobs were impacted, school was impacted, their lives were changed because we took a few days to get our power back. I don't want that to happen again. I want power back as quickly as we can get it back.
Watching and listening in to Governor Rick Scott live from Tallahassee as he briefs us on Hurricane Matthew. The biggest concern is the strength of this storm. He said if you can evacuate and you're in the path of this storm, evacuate. But even if you're not in the path, beware that this can move. You know, the storm can move one way or the other and impact a greater area.
Basically warning Floridians to brace yourself for a direct hit because the tracks are all over the place. One even showing it looping around and coming back once it moves past Florida. So it's a very scary situation. Definitely you want to be prepared. He's activated the National Guard. The entire state's under a state of emergency. So he's trying to get us all ready.